Hey, Rent Retires, it's Adam Schroeder here with Zach Lemaster again, and we are joined by our Ohio provider over here, Steve. We're going to talk about the markets that he's in, kind of what's going on, what the rent trends are, what the price trends are, and all of that. So, Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on again, guys.
Absolutely. So tell us, remind everybody, some people may not have seen our active inventory, may not know exactly where you're operating. So tell us kind of what areas you're hitting with your properties.
So I do Akron, Ohio, about a half-hour radius. So I'll hit, suburbs outside of Akron as Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls, Stowe. I'll do some Canton, some Massillon. We've done Rittman as we had David on. And then Wadsworth is another suburb we also like to get into.
Okay. So what about that area what's happening in that area right now? I mean, is it, people think of that area and a lot of times it's not the sexiest in their mind, obviously. But what makes it a good investment?
So makes a good investment is the price point. You can get it at a good price point compared to the rent. So the ROIs are phenomenal there. We can get houses and do a ton of renovation to them, still get them at a price point where you can make money. That's the biggest key, I think, right? Affordable housing, and the rents just keep increasing. In the past, from the first house I sold you guys, it finally got re-rented. It was $175 more, and that's in two and a half years. The tenant stayed for 2 years and we re-rented it, which I thought was a great increase for 24 months.
This is a trend that we're starting to see where there's a lot of opportunity, I would say, is being in what I would consider secondary and sometimes tertiary markets where, sure, people know where Cleveland is, but they are unaware that sometimes people can still live or work in Cleveland and still commute within an hour radius. And often those are areas where there's a lot of opportunity in those somewhat secondary markets where there's more affordability, maybe more family-oriented type housing. Barberton, specifically in Akron, is an area that we're starting to see blow up more and more. There's a lot of statistical information that was recently presented as far as like affordability. I mean, can we cover some of those stats, Steve? I mean, why should people be interested specifically in looking at those areas?
So I know that Redfin said that Akron was the least likely to have a recession for housing wise, so are least likely to have the biggest change, right? It was a solid market, a lot of blue collar workers that are going to continue to go to work every day and pay their rents, and it's a super landlord friendly territory as well, which is nice, which is not always what you get when you get into the bigger markets and different states. And what's nice about the Cleveland, Akron, Canton areas is really connected by highways. So you can get from Cleveland to Canton in an hour easily. So they can live in anywhere around Akron area, the suburbs around Akron, and still work in downtown Cleveland, 35-minute commute, which isn't terrible. And like you said, it's a lot more affordable.
Yeah. So you've told me, a bit about these markets during the phone calls that I've had with you. So, and you mentioned a lot of them have like community events or like a big downtown square. So give us some of the highlights of kind of why these areas are drawing people. Like, why wouldn't people just live in Cleveland? Because some of the stuff we've seen in Cleveland hadn't been that expensive either, so why are people being drawn out to these areas?
So like Barberton has like a little downtown center area. It's called Lake Ann. They have festivals, music festivals there every weekend. They have mum festivals where people are in downtown and they want to be there. They can walk to these events. They can, drive, find parking. It's easy. It's fun for the family. A lot of them are free events too, which is great, right? That's what people want, activities, stuff outside. Obviously, when we have a foot of snow, that doesn't happen, but in the summer months. And then Akron has an area called like Lock 3. It's a downtown area, super trendy. You got your breweries and your outdoor activities. They have concerts, and they bring in a little bit higher level concert than like the smaller suburbs. But a lot of the suburbs around Akron do the same thing. They have areas where communities gather on weekends and have different events, which I think a lot of people really enjoy, that small town feel.
You brought up the word snow, and this is something that we get asked about quite often. Some people are very adverse to invest in the northern states because they're scared of snow. They don't want to have to deal with snow or the snow's impact on, real estate. I mean, how do you answer those questions?
If you live in Northeast Ohio, the foot of snow, It doesn't bother anyone. It's a normal thing, you know. The furnaces keep the houses warm, so all your pipes stay warm. And a lot of times I replace the pipes a lot of times with PEX lines. The PEX lines are super, super, super durable compared to the copper and the PVC. So that's anytime I have to do anything with the water lines, we just replace all the water lines.
And that's an important segue into the next point, is that location is important to invest, but also making sure you're working with the right people and the right team. And that's really what's going to allow you to be successful in any given area. Let's talk a little bit on, you talked about the plumbing, but I mean, what else, Steve, are you doing with your rehab to ensure that people are going to have a successful experience long term?
So I've said this before, I follow the model you laid out for me years ago when we talked. If the furnace is older than 10 years old, it's replaced. If the hot water tank's older than 5 years old, it's replaced. If the windows don't lock, stay up, they're replaced. If the roof is older than 15 years, it's replaced. I want to make sure that every major mechanical has at least 10 years of life or more on it. And that's what your big CapEx items that everyone's always worried about to get hit with that huge bill in those first couple of years. But with the turnkey model, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. One of the things that makes you one of my favorites, I'll be honest, is, we've talked before, and I've mentioned on the show many times, and I tell my clients, sometimes I feel like home inspectors, their job is to make sure that no one ever buys a house, because their job is to terrify people, because they got to make their money. And in every, rehab, even new construction, you see the inspection report and you think, oh, this is, they're terrified about, there's 30 things on the list. Most of them aren't really anything that's to get concerned about. I would hate to see an inspection report of my primary residence. And to me, it looks like a good house. So tell us about kind of your, when it comes to that, like why you just kind of say, yeah, I'll do it. And these repair items, they're good to go.
If anything comes up as like, a safety issue or like a hazard or whatever it might be, if it's an issue, I'm just going to fix it no matter what. I mean, it has to be fixed, whether I keep the property, sell the property. It's something that I didn't see, or when we were working out, we didn't see it, but the inspector's job is to find it. He found something and we're going to fix it, because I want to give a premium product, because that's what's expected. That's what the norm is. So right off the rip, they always have items that are, red or whatever. Those items are always handled. There's no question about them. They're done. I'll get them done. And then if there's some other items that you're like, this bothers me, because everyone has, different life experiences. So they might have had something happen at their house. Like, I want to get this taken care of. Just tell me about it. Let's talk about why it's important, and if it's something we need to do, we'll do it.
Yeah. And another thing, we've talked about it before, but your property management, you're not officially vertically integrated, but you're pretty much vertically integrated. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about kind of the handoff and kind of when y'all can start marketing, because from what I can tell, y'all can start marketing earlier than a lot of other teams can. So talk about the relationship there and kind of how that handoff works.
So the biggest fear is property management, because that's going to be the long-term relationship. Yeah, we have the relationship for 30 to 45 days, right? But you have to deal with your property manager on either a daily, a monthly, whatever basis. You need them to be the best they can be, and they want to make sure that the rents projected actually happen, right? So as soon as I finish any punch list, the cleaning crew comes in, cleans out the house, and then they go ahead and list it immediately. So that usually gives you a 2 to 3 week period, definitely 2, sometimes 3 if we're lucky, where your property's marketed for a tenant before it closes. And what that does is a lot of times we get it rented. And if we don't get it rented in those first, 2-3 weeks, we'll drop it to what we marketed the property at. For those first 2 to 3 weeks, we try to hit that investor a home run. We try to have that, $100 extra, the $125, the $25, whatever we can do to get you more than projected. That's what we're trying to do in that first 2 to 3 weeks. And that's why I've been successful in doing that, because we have that little extra buffer of time before you own the property.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us to tell us about your market. Really appreciate it. Like I said, when I see the inventory on our sheet, I know that's going to be a good solid return on investment. Steve's easy to work with. So really appreciate it. Everybody, you can see Steve's properties at renttoretirement.com. That's renttoretirement.com. Really appreciate you spending the time listening to this episode, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.